So what I was saying really quickly, DFE has its own subreddit. You're welcome to go there and check it out. Nothing much happens on there as of now, but that can be changed. Go on there, join, post questions, post jokes, post whatever you want. I would especially love to see people cropping out little moments of my videos that you just find funny, because I very much enjoy that. But whatever you want to post on there, DFE has its own subreddit. For now, we're going to spend time on the German subreddit. Let's look at this first post. Nie. I'm having some troubles dealing with nie. Where and how the heck should I use or put it in a sentence? That is a very general question. So the word nie, in case you're not aware, means never in English. Oh yeah, and as for questions in chat, I will get to a few questions in chat. If you want to make sure that I definitely read and answer your question, you are free to use the super chat. Otherwise, it's a matter of luck. So now let's get to nie. Nie means never. And it can be used in such sentences as ich mache das nie. Ich habe noch nie einen Film gesehen. Don't know what kind of person would say these sentences. Doesn't really matter. Ich will nie wieder gehen. What else? Any other nie sentences? The question the person asks, as in where do I use that, is a very general thing. And I think I may be understanding what the issue is, because as you could see here, it's at the end, then suddenly it's somewhere in the middle, and it's in the middle again. There's even some instances where it could be at the beginning. Nie räumst du dein Zimmer auf. Nie hörst du mir zu. Let's put that in there as well. Nie hörst du mir zu. You never listen to me. And I think this is just a classic case of struggling with the relatively flexible word order that German allows for. Wann hast du das letzte Mal ein Buch gelesen? Noch nie. Yeah, noch nie. That's also an answer. Although, I'm not going to include that in here because that's not a full sentence. Which, of course, that happens in casual language. But as soon as you're shortening down languages in a colloquial way, that's a whole other chapter. Let's stick to full sentences first. Okay, so we have end, middle. Well, that's a bit off screen. I think I need to readjust the size of my thing, but not now. That's legible enough. And start. Look. So, and Michael already made an appropriate observation. If you have a combined verb, as in the two middle sentences, this is basically just another issue of general German sentence order. Okay, so we have, in all of these, we have a before section. And between section, which is dark blue. Let's stick to the colors that were used. That. Noch nie einen Film gesehen. Ich will nie wieder gehen. Nie hörst du mir zu. Is actually a bit of a tricky one. And then we have our verbs, which in this case, this is verb 1, verb 1, verb 2, verb 1, verb 2, verb 1, and this is also still verb 1 because that is zuhören, which is a separable verb. So whenever this is the main verb in a sentence, that gets split up. as we can see here. So it got split into zu and hörst, hören, zuhören. Okay. So what happens in a German sentence is we basically always go between verbs, and we generally have one verb position in front and another in the back. That only gets used under certain circumstances. Now, if you want a full big explanation of all this, go watch my videos on syntax, but basically the gist of it is there is only ever one slot available before the first verb. And there's even some forms of sentences where we don't have a slot available in front of the first verb at all. But the before section can only ever be filled with one thing at a time. But what gets put in that position, and sorry, by one thing, I mean one part of a sentence. So, I could flip the second sentence around because that's the one that lends itself the most to demonstrating that. So the second sentence I could also turn into einen. Oop, that's a bit too green. Let's stick to one color for writing for now. Einen Film habe ich noch nie gesehen. So, which means we completely changed the order. But that's the same sentence as that one. Einen Film habe ich noch nie gesehen. I'm gonna quickly, like, there. Okay, it's gesehen. Same thing. The only thing we have to watch out for is that there's only ever one Satzglied. So, sentence segment? Yeah, I guess segment. That goes in the before section. We can have more than one in the between section, which is the dark blue. Wait. Oh, my mouse isn't visible. That's convenient. Wait. That's another setting to adjust in the future. So, is this visible? Yes. So, the between section, the dark blue, there's always one more, there's always like basically unlimited things that can go in there. The before section can only ever contain one sentence segment, whether that be one word, 2 words, 5 words, as long as they all belong together. Which is why, even though einen Film is 2 words, I can put them both in the before section because einen is just the article that goes along with Film. So that's kind of the basic info we need here. Now, nie, specifically, basically works like any other word in this sense that it can go at the start. Again, if it was noch nie, as it is here, then I could also put the noch nie at the beginning of that sentence. So, again, using the middle sentence, I could also turn that around into noch nie habe ich einen Film gesehen. The only thing that changes between these 3 variances of, or 3 varieties of the same sentence is that the emphasis is different. The emphasis on what I want to talk about becomes different. You have no limitations that pertain particularly, especially to nie, that don't also concern other words or meaning items. This is basically the short version of my answer whenever you use never. I mean, it is to be treated the same way as nicht in its mysterious way of enforcing itself into different areas of a sentence, or is it just to be placed intuitively whenever I want to express never? Yeah, so this is exactly the difference. Nie is not the same as nicht. And nicht is definitely a bit more tricky as to where it should be placed, depending on what it relates to. Ich sehe das nicht, ich mache das nicht. Because it kind of acts more like an accompanying part than as in like a meaning item itself. So that's basically the difference. Nicht is a so-called function word, which means it's a grammatical word. Nie is a meaning word. And if you understand those 2 categories of words, that can help a lot. Because function words usually have more restrictions on how they work grammatically and where they can go in a sentence. While meaning words can go anywhere where another meaning word can go, in principle. So nie is a meaning word. It's an adverb. Paul just corrected himself in a really nice way. That being, so the first sentence was, du hast, oh God, why is it always so big? You don't need to write that big. It's fine. We can see you. Du hast, where is it? Ein Video über nie gemacht. Which then got corrected to, du hast nie, or niemals, ein Video über nie gemacht. The first sentence isn't wrong, but it's less likely to be used that way. You are helping. You are involved in the stream. Now we know that can happen. Function versus meaning is a very helpful insight. I'm glad, because you learn this like concept of function word versus meaning word pretty early in the linguistics like course of study. But I don't think as like a person who doesn't study linguistics, you are ever going to be clued into that. And it is such a big deal, honestly. So this sentence works grammatically, but it is unlikely to be formulated that way. So you have a video about never done. Du hast ein Video über nie gemacht. That's correct grammatically. Unlikely to be expressed that way. More likely, du hast nie ein Video über nie gemacht. Why? Because the nie, as it does so often, relates to the verb. Because we usually use never when we're talking about something being done. Never. So, talking about nie here means that I have never done or made a video. So just because of how we tend to phrase things, that makes it more likely that the nie will come as fast as possible after the first part of a verb, which in this case is the auxiliary haben. Du hast nie gemacht. So the gemacht definitely has to go at the end because it's the second part of the verb. Again, watch my syntax videos for that. And the nie is more likely to then come right after the verb because that's what it's referring to. That's not a rule. It's just a tendency for how Germans tend to use it. And though we shouldn't compare too much between languages, because languages can be very different. In this case, and partly because English is a Germanic language, so there's a relationship between German and English, you do the same thing in English. You could say, a video about never you have never made. That's grammatically correct, but it's more likely that you would say, you have never made a video about blah. Yeah? Okay, let's move on from never. As interesting as this is, I need to talk about more than one question today. At least that was what I had in mind.